Stay tuned for Escape. You are isolated on a remote plantation in the steaming Amazon jungle, and an immense army of ravenous ants is closing in on you, swarming in to eat you alive. A deadly black army from which there is no escape. Escape is carefully contrived to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. Today, we escape to the Amazon and to a creeping, crawling terror, as Carl Stephenson told it in his gripping story, Leiningen versus the Ants.
I had first met Leiningen while performing my duty as district commissioner. As my boat neared his plantation landing, I saw him upon the riverbank regarding me with mild interest. A great hulk of a man with bristling gray hair, bulky nose, and pale eyes. His entire appearance somehow suggested an aging and shabby eagle. He escorted me to the terrace and had a drink brought. I came quickly to the point of my visit and issued my warning. Leiningen puffed placidly at a huge cigar and listened as I told him. Unless they alter their course, and there's no reason why they should, they'll reach your plantation in 2 days at the latest.
Uh-huh. Well, it was decent of you paddling all this way just to give me the tip.
Tip?
Commissioner, even a herd of crocodiles couldn't drive me from this plantation.
But these aren't ordinary creatures you can fight. They're an elemental force, a gigantic catastrophe. 10 miles long, 2 miles wide. Ants, nothing but ants. And each one as big as your thumb, and each of them a fiend from hell. Unless you clear out at once, there'll be nothing left of you but a skeleton. Picked as clean as your plantation will be.
I'm not getting out.
But you can't fight this.
Yes, I can. I've got the best weapon there is, intelligence.
But can't I make you understand these hideous...
I think it is you who do not understand. In the 3 years I've been here, I've met and defeated more than one catastrophe. A flood, a drought, a plague, events which caused many of my neighbors to flee for their lives. No, Commissioner, all my life I have lived with one creed. The human brain needs only to become fully aware of its powers to conquer even the elements.
Leiningen, your obstinacy is endangering not only your own life, but the lives of your workers and their families. You don't know these ants. I tell you, you don't know these ants. But Leiningen merely sat there, puffing at his cigar and regarding me with a smug grin. And I knew it was hopeless. As I boarded my launch and cast off, I realized I had never met a man like that. And I could not help wondering.
I could not help wondering about the strange look in the commissioner's eyes as he boarded his launch and cast off. Undoubtedly, he thought me insane. Well, he would have not been the first to think so. But I, Leiningen, knew my own powers. I was sure of myself. I knew that intelligence directed rightly always makes man the master of his fate. That night I called my Indian workers together in front of the plantation house. I saw their faces go ashen with terror as I told them the ants were coming. Watched them as they milled around muttering. I said nothing more to them. Finally, one of the men stepped forward. Carlos, the foreman.
But, Patron, we have worked hard here these last 3 years. All of us. We have built the finest plantation in this district. We all share in it. It has been a home to all of us and our families. Now, the ants come.
So?
Those ditches we dug last year, the pipe we put in the ground, that was for the ants?
That was for the ants.
If we moved our families across the river, the ants could not reach them?
Yes, that's right. And you?
The ants are mighty. We know what they can do. All of us. We think you are mighty.
That's right. You're the strongest.
Patron, we will stay with you and fight against the ants.
I knew the men would give me that answer. I'd counted on it. I thought of the commissioner and wondered what he would say at such unquestioning confidence. Would he still think I was insane, or had he...
All that night, I could not get Leiningen out of my mind. One man who calmly evaluated his chances against a deadly menace coolly decided he could win and was willing to stake his life on it, to risk a horrible death for it. It was terrifying, and yet it was fascinating. The next morning, I sent for my assistant. Together, we went to the huge map of the district which hung from a wall off my office and checked the last reported position of the ants.
Last night they had reached here, about 70 miles above this fork in the river.
Traveling southeast?
Yes.
Directly toward Leiningen.
Toward? Whom, sir?
Oh, that plantation at the bend of the river belongs to a man named Leiningen. When would you say the ants will reach here?
Why, I don't know. I imagine about tomorrow noon.
Tomorrow noon. Still time.
Still time? What do you mean, sir?
Why nothing. But what did I mean? Still time for what? For Leiningen to flee, or still time for me to... And even as I rejected the thought with horror, I knew that the fascination of that man was more than I could resist. That Leiningen's fight was drawing me back toward that plantation and death. I knew now, past all doubt, I was going back. I had to. It was 10 o'clock in the morning when I rounded the bend and saw Leiningen's plantation before me. I put in at the dock and tied up the launch. And then I saw him, standing on the bank above me, arms folded, stubby cigar in his mouth, and that same smug grin on his face. I made my way up to him.
Yeah. Back with another warning, Commissioner?
No.
Back to stay a while?
Yes. You don't seem very surprised.
No, I'm not.
You expected me.
I thought you'd be back. Here, come along, we'll get some horses. You'll want to ride around the plantation and take a look at the defenses I rigged up.
Yes, I'll want to see the defenses.
And the ants. We'll be getting a glimpse of them before long.
Yes, the ants. The defenses Leiningen had devised were quite impressive. Surrounding three sides of the plantation, like a huge horseshoe, was a ditch 12 feet wide. The ends of this horseshoe-shaped ditch ran into the river which formed the fourth side of the plantation. And at the upriver entrance to the ditch, Leiningen had constructed a dam by which river water could be diverted into the ditch. A large hand wheel controlled the floodgate of the dam, and apparently Leiningen had ordered it opened immediately after my arrival. For as we now approached the ditch and rode along it, I could see that it was nearly full.
Yeah. How do you like my first line of defense, Commissioner?
It's reassuring, like a moat around a castle.
Unless the ants know how to build rafts, they won't reach the plantation. This is only the outer moat. There's a better one than this. Here, come along. We'll go up on the high ground where the buildings are. We can get a view from there.
Leiningen!
Huh?
I didn't see any women or children around the plantation, or any animals.
Yes, that's right. They moved them across the river.
Then even you think there's danger?
Not because of danger, Commissioner. A matter of efficiency.
Efficiency?
Yeah, it cuts down the efficiency of the men if they're worried about their families. Critical situations only become crises when oxen and women get excited.
I see.
Here we are. See this ditch?
It's much smaller than the other.
You've noticed how all the buildings are on the piece of high ground. This inner ditch surrounds them. It's lined with concrete.
But even filled with water, this is no barrier. It's not big enough. Why, if the ants get this far,
They'll get no further. This ditch wasn't built for water, Commissioner. See the pipes leading into it? See those storage tanks up on the hill? Yeah, petrol. We can throw up a wall of flame. Care to bet they won't like that?
I hope you're right. Leiningen, look! Over at the edge of the jungle. All those animals.
Yes, they're running like the wind. Everything from jaguars to monkeys.
Good heavens.
Remember, they don't have any ditches.
But can they escape?
They'll be all right as long as they don't get caught between the river and the ants. They can outrun the crawlers, but if they get trapped, it's either the ants or the crocodiles. Commissioner, look. Look, there on the horizon. There are your ants. Look at them.
It was a sight I will never forget. Over the range of hills, as far as I could see, crept a darkening hem, ever longer and broader, till the shadow spread across the entire slope, then downward, downward, uncannily swift, and all the green herbage on the entire slope was being mowed as by a giant sickle, leaving only the vast moving shadow, extending, deepening, and always moving nearer.
They're a hideous lot.
Leiningen, we can't last against that. Look at them. Why, they'll fill your ditches with their corpses and still have enough to destroy every one of us. We've got to run.
Well, No, they haven't got to us yet, and they never will.
The hostile army was approaching in perfect formation. No human battalions, however well drilled, could ever hope to rival the precision of that advance. Along the front that moved forward as uniformly as a straight line, the ants drew nearer and nearer to the water ditch. As they approached, two outlining wings of the army detached themselves from the main body and started marching along the sides of the ditch, no doubt expecting at some point to find a crossing. And during this hour-long flanking movement, the main army remained still. Across the scant 12 feet of ditch, I stared at them. And they stared back at me. A solid mass, every one as big as my thumb, with reddish-black body and long legs. Suddenly, a sound so unearthly as to freeze our blood jerked our heads in the direction of the jungle on the far side of the ditch. Coming toward the ditch at a stumbling gallop was a singular being, a writhing animal-like blackened statue with a shapeless head and four quivering feet. It was a stag, covered over and over with ants. Leiningen raised his rifle, and the stag fell lifeless to the ground. Its agonies at an end. Horrified as I was, my curiosity impelled me to glance at my watch. I had to know how long the ants would take. After 6 minutes, only the white, polished bones of the stag remained. Now I could see a change in Leiningen. Gone was the sporting zest of the novel contest. In its place was a cold, violent purpose. He had to beat the ants because now he knew how long it would take them once they got to us. Around 4 in the afternoon, the ant scouts, having found no crossing, there was a stirring among the main army. And then an immense flood of ants, about 100 yards in width, commenced pouring in a glimmering black cataract down the far slope of the ditch. Thousands drowned instantly, but the rest began using their bodies as bridges. Leiningen immediately swung into action.
On here.
Hey, come on. Patron, what you gonna do?
Get to the dam. Open the floodgate a little more. We've got to get the water in the ditch moving faster.
Si, senor.
Look at them drown in the thousands.
But they keep coming, even though the current carries many of them away. They're advancing.
We'll fix them. Carlos.
Senor,
How about those shovels and petrol sprinklers? You passed them out to the men?
it has been done, senor.
Then get all hands here in a hurry. This looks like the spot for action. Commissioner?
Yes?
Beginning to see what I was talking about?
What do you mean?
About intelligence being more than a match for anything it tackles? Take the ants. They've got no intelligence. If they had, they'd have attacked along the whole length of the ditch instead of a narrow front like this. They'd been across by now. Too bad I'm not running their campaign for them.
You can joke about it like that with the ants halfway across the ditch.
All right, men, busy with the shovels now. Dump some sand and clods on them. See how they like that. You with the petrol sprinklers, start pumping. They don't like it, Commissioner. They don't like it a bit. Look at them.
Yes, but look at the ones on the far side of the ditch. Whole clumps of them rolling into the water. The rest are using them for bridges.
Yeah, smarter than I thought. They're widening their front, too.
Some of them are getting across.
Well, grab a shovel then, Commissioner. Make them regret it. What's the matter?
Ants! On my shovel, senor! They're on my arms!
Into the petrol, idiot. Douse your hands in the petrol. Don't stop now, the rest of you. Club them, club them.
We can't hold them back, senor! We must run!
Keep at it, keep at it. Don't stop now. The water's moving faster.
And hell's got the floodgates open.
Yes, they can't hold their own against the current now. Look at them, Commissioner. The water's carrying them away. We've beat them. We've won out.
It was true. Leiningen had won. At least the opening round. The floodgates were left open to forestall any night crossing. But when dawn came, the dark blanket was still there, motionless across the ditch. Then we noticed the feverish activity on the other side of the plantation. Here a grove of tamarind trees lined the far end of the ditch, and every tree swarmed with the crawling insects. But instead of eating the leaves, they were merely gnawing through the stems, so that a thick green shower fell steadily to the ground. Well, it looks as if it's feeding time for our friends, eh?
Carlos.
Senor?
Have all the petrol pumps brought here. Get everyone over here except the lookouts on the other side and pass out the shovels.
Si, senor.
Going to deprive them of a meal?
A meal?
Aren't they cutting the leaves down for food?
Oh, I wish they were. Looks like I underestimated them when I said they didn't have intelligence.
What do you mean?
I said if they wanted to get across, they'd have to have rafts. That's just what they've got. Those leaves are their rafts.
Even as he spoke, the leaves went tumbling down the far bank by the thousands. The current drew them away from the bank, and each leaf carried several ants.
Look at them out there! They're coming!
Don't worry. As long as you keep spraying them and shoveling dirt on their rafts, they can't land.
But there will be too many.
It's true. Look, more leaves in the ditch all the time. Why, they'll have a solid carpet to walk across in a minute.
Not so fast, Commissioner. I've still got a trick up my sleeve for them.
Hey! Good armor! Nobody's gonna get through it!
The ditch is drying up.
Yes, of course it's drying up. That's the plan. Those are the orders I sent to the dam.
Are you mad? As soon as it's empty, what's to prevent the ants from... Look! The water's way down. It's almost dry. They'll be able to come across the bottom.
They'll not make it. The man at the dam will have opened the gates by now.
To flood the ants?
Right.
But what a chance to take. If anything should happen.
Aha, here it comes. Here comes water. Now we'll give the crawlers in the ditch a good ride. Out into the river. There, look at them go.
Leiningen's tactics were successful. At first, the violent flow of water at the original depth raced through the ditch, overwhelming leaves and ants, and sweeping them along. 3 times the ditch was empty. 3 times the ants raced across its bottom. And 3 times the rushing water, arriving just in time, carried them away. But the 4th time, as the water lowered nearly to the bottom of the ditch, we waited in vain for the rushing water.
Senor!
And then...
Senor!
What's the matter? What's gone wrong at the dam?
The ants, just as a man at the dam lowered the water almost to the bottom, the ants attacked. Before he could open the floodgates, he was almost surrounded. He ran. The ants kept coming. They are across the ditch.
Leiningen stood motionless, absorbing the news of his defeat without a word. Then he raised his pistol and fired 3 shots into the air. The prearranged signal for all men to retreat instantly to the second line of defense. The concrete ditches more than a mile from the point of invasion. Soon after we arrived there, the natives commenced straggling in, silently. Leiningen waited until all of them had gathered. And then he spoke.
Well, lads, we won the first round. We lost the second, but we'll smash the crawlers yet. Anyone who thinks otherwise can draw his pay and push off. There's rafts enough on the river and plenty of time still to reach them.
No, we're with you.
You'll stay then?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Thank you, lads. And you, Commissioner?
I can't persuade you to give up the fight.
You cannot.
Then, I'll stay too.
I knew you would.
Senor, a few of the ants have reached the ditch.
They're trying to get across?
No, senor.
I didn't think they would. There's plenty of food out there for them. My fields and orchards, the work of 3 years, ought to last them until morning anyway.
Yes, we were safe for that night. But the next morning, the black swarm was solid around us, and their shock troops were hard at work. They were dropping shreds of bark and twigs and leaves into the petrol-filled ditches, forming a floating bridge across the surface of the liquid. Leiningen stood silently watching this operation, and I could see a grudging admiration in his face. Then, after several hours, the attack came. Down the ditch they poured, millions of them, and across the bridge of twigs rapidly approaching the inner side, Leiningen sat motionless, watching them. Leiningen, for the love of God, don't sit there like a statue. They'll be on us in a moment.
Let them fill the ditch first. Now, all right, everyone back. Get back. Carlos?
Si, senor.
Hand me the torch.
Si, senor.
Now we'll see how our friends like a little heat.
The flames from the ditch shot into the air, devouring ants by the millions. It was some time before the petrol burned down to the bed of the ditch. But when it did, the devils came back for more. Fired the ditch to destroy them. And still again they came on. But at each successive firing, the path of the ants grew easier because of the film of ash which now covered the petrol. As they returned to the assault, time after time, a slow, sickening horror crept into my mind. I looked quickly at Leiningen, then at the petrol tanks. He read my gaze and nodded slowly.
Yeah, that's right, Commissioner. We could hold them off forever if our supply of petrol was unlimited. But it isn't. We've got enough to fill the ditch once more.
But, Leiningen, isn't there any way? Any way at all? We've got to do something.
Yes, I know. There must be a way. There must. Yes.
Oh, what is it?
We'll flood the whole plantation.
Flood? But how?
The river's higher than any point except the high ground we're on.
Say again?
If the river was dammed all the way, it'd overflow that stone breakwater and flood the whole plantation.
But...
We've got to close the floodgate at the dam. That'll do it.
Oh, you're mad. The dam is more than a mile away. More than a mile of ants.
Lads, listen to me.
Yes, whatever you have to say.
Listen, lads, I'm proud of you. Now, there's still a chance by shutting the floodgates to the dam and flooding the whole plantation from the river. The moment I'm over the ditch, set fire to it. That'll allow time for the flood to wash away the ants. Then all you have to do is wait for me.
It's impossible. You can't get to the dam, let alone back.
Oh, that's where you're wrong, Commissioner. I'll get there and I'll get back. Take care of things while I'm gone, huh?
I watched him as he calmly pulled on high leather boots, drew gauntlets over his hands, stuffed the spaces between breeches and boots, and gauntlets and arms with petrol-soaked rags. He shielded his eyes with close-fitting mosquito goggles and plugged his nostrils and ears with cotton. Then the natives drenched his clothes with petrol. Carlos, who acted as a doctor to the men, smeared a salve over him, and finally, Leiningen was ready. And as he stood calmly surveying the course,
ready for the run, I realized that this was it, should be. I, Leiningen, would meet the ants and defeat them, or be defeated by them. Leiningen versus the ants. Yeah, I was right that it should be like this. But now, there was no more time for thought, only action. I took a deep breath, then bounded across the ditch and among the ants. I ran in long, equal strides, and with one thought, one sensation in my being. I must get through. I dodged the trees and shrubs. Except for the split seconds my soles touched the ground, the ants would have no opportunity to alight on me. I ran on. I was halfway to the dam before I felt the ants under my clothes and a few on my face. I struck at them mechanically, scarcely conscious of their bites. The dam drew towards me slowly. The distance grew less. Finally, 100 yards away, 50, and I was there. I gripped the ant-covered wheel, but hardly had I seized it when a horde of ants flowed over my hands and arms. I strained. Slowly the wheel turned more. The floodgates were swinging slowly shut, and then it was shut. And the water was rising behind the breakwater, closer to the top, closer, and then it was spilling over. The flooding of the plantation had begun. I let go of the wheel and started back through the ants. I was coated from head to foot with the fiends. Tongues of fire stabbed at me as they bit into my flesh. I almost lost my head with the pain as I ran, knocking ants from my body, brushing them from my bloodied face. And then one bit me just below the rim of my goggles. I managed to tear it away, but the agony of the bite and its venom drilled into my eye nerves. I saw now through circles of fire into a milky mist. I was almost blinded, but I knew that if I tripped and fell, well, I ran on, my heart pounding as it would burst, blood roaring in my ears, a giant's fist battering my lungs. Then I could see dimly that wall of flame at the ditch. But it was too far away. I could not last half that distance. I stumbled. I fell. I felt myself being swarmed over, devoured. I tried to rise. A great weight, then suddenly the vision of the half-devoured stag in my brain. 6 minutes, then nothing but bones. Oh, I couldn't let it happen to me. I couldn't die like that. Oh, to my feet. I dragged myself forward. Toward the flame, the ditch, the ring of flames. Closer now. Only a little further. 10 steps.
It seemed we had waited for hours, when all at once, through the blazing ring around us, an apparition hurtled and fell full length on the ground. It was Leiningen, alive with ants, unconscious, with blazing eyes and lacerated face. We rushed to him, stripped off his clothes, and tore at the ants that covered him. His body seemed almost one open wound. In one place, I could see a white bone. Later, as the curtain of flame lowered, I looked out to where that blanket of ants had been and saw only a vast expanse of water, covering the entire plantation and working its way to within a few feet of the concrete ditch. The ants were gone, drowned. and Leiningen had won. He lay on his bed, his body swathed from head to foot with bandages, but alive, and still very much in command.
Yeah. Everything in order?
Everything's in order.
Yeah. I told you I'd come back. Even if I am a bit filleted.
Escape. Today's performance of Leiningen versus the Ants was adapted for radio by Robert Riff, with Renee Sandoval as Leiningen, Bill Alwyn as the commissioner. The other players included Kent Ferguson, Tom Parrish, and Terry Turner. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Take it from Tallulah. Prell, Procter & Gamble's Radiant Cream Shampoo leaves your hair more radiant than any soap shampoo. And Prell removes unsightly dandruff in as little as 3 minutes. Doctors' examinations prove it. For hair radiantly clean, radiantly lovely, try Prell, your very next shampoo.
I'm Tallulah, the tube of Prell, and I've got a little something to tell. Your hair can be radiant. Easy. All you gotta do is take me home and squeeze me. I'm Tallulah, the tube of Pearl, and I'll make your hair look swell. It'll shine, it'll glow so dandruff-free for radiant hair. Get a hold of me, Tallulah, the tube of Pearl shampoo.
2 beans times 2 beans means 4 beans.
Nescafe uses much more beans.
10 beans times 4 beans and add 3 more beans. Make 43 rich coffee beans.
Yes, you get 43 beans in every cup of Nescafe. Real coffee beans, that's all there is to Nescafe. 43 beans in every cup. Make Nescafe the all-coffee instant coffee with the let's have another cup taste.
Extra beans means extra flavor. Today's Nescafe goes all the way for flavor with 43 choice beans in every cup. So be sure to always keep a 12-ounce jar of Nescafe instant coffee in your kitchen cupboard so that you can enjoy a delicious hot cup of Nescafe instant coffee.
Yes, you get 43 beans in every cup of Nescafe. Real coffee beans, that's all there is in Nescafe. 43 beans in every cup. Make Nescafe the all-coffee instant coffee with the let's have another cup taste.
And now sit back and relax with a cup of Nescafe instant coffee and enjoy another musical interlude with our great Southwest radio jazz singer, Bonnie Lee.
You are the promised kiss of springtime that makes the lonely winter seem long. You are the breathless hush of evening that trembles on and all the things you are
Bonnie Lee.